In Cedar Grove, Halloween was not just a holiday, it was an event. Each year as the leaves turned golden and the air chilled, the town transformed. Homes were adorned with twinkling orange lights, streets were lined with scarecrows, and pumpkins carved into ghastly faces glowed on every porch. This year, the festive spirit was particularly infectious, with everyone from toddlers to the elderly partaking in the decorating frenzy, gearing up for the annual Halloween parade and the grand costume ball. Elsie, a middle-aged schoolteacher with a lifelong passion for astronomy, had just finished setting up her telescope in the backyard. The night sky was a canvas of twinkling stars, and she hoped to catch a glimpse of the Orionid meteor shower, a yearly spectacle courtesy of Halley's Comet. As she adjusted her telescope, her neighbors, the O'Donnells, were busy turning their front yard into a graveyard scene, complete with fog machines and eerie sound effects. Just as the town clock struck 10, a brilliant streak of light sliced across the sky, brighter than any shooting star Elsie had ever witnessed. It was followed by a deep rumble that vibrated through the crisp night air. The light did not fade like a typical meteor, instead, it seemed to slow down, illuminating the sky with an eerie glow before crashing into the dense forest that bordered the town. Elsie's curiosity was piqued. She knew that whatever had landed was no ordinary space debris. Grabbing her jacket, she decided to investigate. On her way out, she knocked on the O'Donnells' door, rallying Tom and Judy, who were just as intrigued by the unusual celestial event. The trio set out into the night, flashlights in hand, heading towards the forest. The woods were silent except for the crunch of dry leaves underfoot and the distant hoots of an owl. As they ventured deeper, the eerie glow that had lit up the sky seemed to intensify, casting long shadows between the gnarled trees. After a brisk 20-minute walk, they reached a clearing where the glow originated. There, nestled among the fallen leaves and branches, lay a spacecraft. It was unlike anything Elsie or her companions had ever seen, sleek and metallic, with a surface that seemed to ripple with light. Its design was symmetrical, adorned with strange symbols that pulsed with a turquoise luminescence. The craft was surprisingly small, no larger than an SUV, and it hummed softly, vibrating the ground around it. As they approached, cautious but mesmerized, the craft's hatch began to open with a quiet hiss. The air around it shimmered like a mirage, and for a moment, Elsie felt as if she were dreaming. From the craft emerged two figures, tall and slender, their bodies casting silhouettes against the glowing interior light. They moved with an ethereal grace, their skin translucent and shimmering under the moonlight. Their eyes, large and unblinking, fixed on Elsie and her friends with a calm curiosity. The townsfolk stood frozen, caught between fear and fascination. The beings spoke first, not through words, but with soothing tones that resonated in the crisp night air, calming the initial shock of their appearance. They gestured peacefully, and as they did, the symbols on their craft ceased pulsing and glowed steadily. Elsie, overcoming her initial hesitation, took a step forward. "Welcome to Cedar Grove," she said, her voice steady but filled with awe. The beings responded with a melody that seemed like gratitude. That night, under the canopy of ancient trees and the watchful eyes of celestial travelers, Cedar Grove found itself at the crossroads of fear and wonder. What had begun as a simple stargazing session had turned into the first encounter of its kind, marking the beginning of an unforgettable Halloween. As the ethereal figures stood before Elsie and the O'Donnells, the townspeople's initial fear melted into a captivated curiosity. The beings' large, luminous eyes conveyed a depth of intelligence and kindness, while their harmonious tones seemed to bypass language, resonating directly with the emotions of the human observers. Elsie, ever the diplomat of Cedar Grove, spoke again, her voice a blend of excitement and caution. "We don't know what brought you here, but you are among friends," she said, gesturing to her equally awestruck neighbors. The aliens responded not with words but with a series of soft, musical sounds that felt strangely comforting. One of the beings stepped forward, its movements graceful and deliberate. It extended a hand, palm up, revealing a skin that seemed woven from light itself. Embedded within its palm was a small device that projected a holographic image above it. The image flickered into clarity, showing a star map with constellations unfamiliar to any earthly observer. Pointing to a star that pulsated brightly on the display, the being emitted a series of melodic tones. Elsie, interpreting these as an introduction, nodded and pointed skyward, then to the ground, sharing their location in return. "Our planet is called Earth," she explained, tracing a circle in the air with her finger. "And this is Cedar Grove." Tom, typically skeptical and reserved, found himself stepping forward, his curiosity overcoming his usual reticence. "Why come here?" "Why now?" he asked, his voice tinged with a mix of suspicion and wonder. The alien's tones changed, becoming slower, more deliberate. Another image appeared in the hologram. This one showed scenes of various earthly Halloween celebrations, costumed children trick-or-treating, parades, jack-o'-lanterns, and families sharing stories of ghosts and goblins. The message was clear: they had been drawn to Earth by these broadcasts, intrigued by the festival of costumes and the concept of playing with identity. Judy, always the heart of any gathering, laughed softly, the sound mingling with the crisp autumn air. "You picked a good time to visit," she said. "Halloween is when we tell stories, dress up, and enjoy scares for fun. It's about being someone else for a night." The beings absorbed her words, their eyes twinkling with what could only be described as delight. In response, they emitted a series of joyful tones, and the space around them seemed to light up, as if their emotions were influencing the very atmosphere. With the initial tension eased, the group began to lead the aliens back towards the town. As they walked, Elsie explained the significance of each Halloween tradition they passed: children darting across lawns in ghostly costumes, houses transformed into haunted mansions, and teenagers recounting tales of the supernatural. As they reached the edge of town, more of Cedar Grove's residents emerged, drawn by the rumors of extraterrestrial visitors. Though apprehension hung in the air, it was tempered by the peaceful demeanor of the new arrivals. The town's mayor, a practical woman named Marjorie, approached with a diplomatic welcome, offering the same hospitality they would to any valued guest. "Tonight, you're part of our community," Marjorie announced, her voice carrying across the gathering crowd. The aliens, understanding her gesture, replicated the mayor's welcoming tone in their own melodious sounds. Elsie suggested that the aliens might enjoy participating in the Halloween parade, which was set to start in just an hour. The idea was met with enthusiastic approval from both townsfolk and visitors. The local seamstress, who had been setting up a booth for costume repairs, offered to adorn the aliens with some festive accessories, nothing too elaborate, just subtle touches that would allow them to blend in while maintaining their mesmerizing allure. As the preparations for the parade began, children and adults alike buzzed around the aliens, eager to show off their costumes and explain their choices. The visitors, in turn, projected images of their own cultural symbols and celebrations, creating a spontaneous exchange of cultural heritage. This unexpected encounter, under the shadow of the setting sun, transformed Cedar Grove's Halloween into an interstellar cultural festival. The boundaries between Earth and the cosmos blurred, and for a night, the entire town danced on the edge of an infinite universe, celebrating not just the thrill of Halloween but the joy of shared existence on a cosmic scale. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a crimson glow over Cedar Grove, the entire town buzzed with an electric excitement. The aliens, adorned with subtle festive touches provided by the local seamstress, glittering capes that mirrored the night sky and shimmering masks that only enhanced their otherworldly charm, prepared to join the Halloween parade. Children and adults alike had quickly warmed to their new friends, their initial wariness replaced by wonder and delight. Elsie led the procession, walking beside the aliens with a pride she'd never felt before. The streets of Cedar Grove had never looked more enchanting, lined with glowing jack-o'-lanterns and festooned with cobwebs and spectral figures that danced in the breeze. As the parade kicked off, the high school band played a lively tune, their notes floating into the chilly night air, weaving a spell of communal cheer. The aliens, with their natural luminescence, became the center of attention. Their skin subtly shifted colors, reflecting the emotions and music around them. This fascinating display drew cheers and applause from the onlookers, many of whom were recording every moment on their phones, eager to capture the surreal experience. Tom, usually a man of few words, walked alongside Judy, marveling at how the town's children interacted with the visitors. Look at them, all excited, showing off their costumes to our guests as if they were judges in a contest, he said with a chuckle. Judy nodded, her eyes bright with tears of joy. This is going to be a story for the ages, she replied, her voice thick with emotion. Meanwhile, teenagers dressed as zombies and vampires performed playful skits for the aliens, who watched with fascination, occasionally mimicking the actions in a light-hearted manner. The visitors also used their holographic device to project images of their own cultural symbols and festivities, which looked like ethereal versions of earthly festivities but with celestial themes. Mayor Marjorie, walking with her family, kept a watchful eye on the interactions, ensuring that everyone respected the visitors' space while sharing in the joyous occasion. She had never imagined her tenure would include facilitating interstellar relations, yet here she was, handing out candy alongside beings from another galaxy. As the parade concluded at the town square, which had been transformed into a festival ground with booths and games, the celebration continued. The aliens were particularly intrigued by the apple bobbing station, watching with curious eyes as children dunked their heads into barrels, emerging with apples clenched in their teeth. They seemed amused by the pumpkin carving station, where intricate faces and designs were etched into pumpkins, casting spooky shadows under the flickering lights. Elsie introduced the aliens to the concept of trick-or-treating, explaining how children went from door to door, asking for treats. The beings were delighted by this tradition and used their technology to create small, edible treats that glowed softly in the palms of their hands. These were given to the children, who accepted them with wide-eyed wonder, the treats tasting like a mixture of earthy honey and mint. The night was filled with laughter, music, and dancing. A local DJ had set up in the square, and soon, the air was vibrating with the beats of popular songs mixed with traditional Halloween tunes. The aliens joined in the dance, moving with a grace and rhythm that enthralled their human counterparts. Their presence transformed the familiar steps and tunes into a dance that felt like a celebration of not just Halloween but of life itself, of the incredible chance encounter that had brought two very different cultures together on this magical night. As the clock approached midnight, the community gathered around a large bonfire set in the center of the square. People shared stories of past Halloweens, ghost tales, and otherworldly encounters, with the aliens listening intently, occasionally projecting similar stories from their world, which featured spectral beings and cosmic adventures. The exchange deepened the mutual understanding and bonded them in the universal joy of storytelling. The night of wonders slowly wound down, leaving the residents of Cedar Grove with memories that would last a lifetime. They had experienced the true spirit of Halloween, a night of masks and mysteries, of friendly ghosts and now, of interstellar friendships. The once quiet town had become a beacon of cosmic connection, forever changed by the visitors who had come not just to observe, but to participate in the most human of celebrations. As the embers of the bonfire crackled and the final notes of music faded into the cool night air, the residents of Cedar Grove and their extraterrestrial guests gathered around the warm glow of the fire. The night was deep and still, with only the occasional hoot of an owl or the distant laughter of teenagers reluctant to end their Halloween adventures. Mayor Marjorie stood, clinking a spoon against her glass to capture everyone's attention. Tonight, she began, her voice strong yet warm, we've shared something extraordinary. Not just our traditions and our homes, but we've bridged worlds. Let's close this evening with our favorite part of Halloween, the stories. Elsie, who had been a central figure in the night's events, stepped forward. She was joined by one of the aliens, whose shimmering form next to her seemed like a living manifestation of starlight. Together, they began to share tales. Elsie recounted a local legend about the Phantom of Cedar Hollow, a benevolent spirit said to protect the town's children. Her story, rich with mystery and kindness, set a festive and heartwarming tone. The alien, using its device to translate thoughts into imagery, projected a tale from its world. The images showed a cosmic entity, much like the Phantom, but this one wove dreams into the night sky, crafting star patterns that guided their people through darkness, both literal and metaphorical. The tale was poignant, filled with beauty and a deep sense of cosmic destiny, resonating with the Cedar Grove residents who watched the sky painted with lights and shadows. As the storytelling continued, each participant, human and alien alike, shared their narratives. A young boy, dressed as a pirate, timidly recounted his first encounter with a ghost in his bedroom, which turned out to be his cat in a Halloween mask. His innocent tale brought chuckles and sympathetic nods from around the fire. An alien shared a story of their first journey through the stars, a rite of passage in their culture that involved navigating through a field of comets. The holographic images displayed a breathtaking view of streaking comets, with the young aliens steering a small, agile craft with skill and bravery. This story, with its themes of courage and exploration, struck a chord with the Cedar Grove adventurers at heart. Tom, who had warmed considerably to the visitors over the course of the evening, offered a ghost story about the old mill on the edge of town, reputed to be haunted by the miller who once saved the town from flooding but perished in the waters. His tale, embellished with spectral moans and sudden gusts of wind in his narration, elicited wide-eyed looks and huddled closer together from the younger listeners. In response, another alien projected a silent tale of water on their world, where beings of light danced on the waves, their movements causing bioluminescent displays that lit up the water. This story, unlike Tom's, was one of harmony and peace with nature, showing a starkly different but equally fascinating cultural perspective. As the fire dwindled to glowing coals, the community felt a profound connection, not just to each other but to the vast universe. They had discovered through laughter, scares, and shared humanity that their world was but a note in the grand symphony of the cosmos. Elsie, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration, looked around at the faces illuminated by the dying fire. "Let's keep this tradition," she suggested. "Every Halloween, we share stories, our own and those from across the stars." The aliens, understanding her proposal, emitted harmonious tones that vibrated warmly in the crisp air, their agreement clear. They, too, had found something special on Earth, not just new experiences but a communal bond forged by the sharing of cultures and the universal love of storytelling. As the night finally gave way to the first hints of dawn, the aliens prepared to return to their ship. Farewells were exchanged, hugs were given, and promises to return were made. The visitors ascended into their craft, leaving behind a town forever changed, with hearts and minds open to the endless possibilities of the universe. Cedar Grove had celebrated Halloween many times before, but this year's celebration had transcended all expectations, becoming a beacon of interstellar friendship and a testament to the power of sharing and understanding across the cosmos. The town would never forget the night when the stars came down to celebrate, and they looked forward to many more Halloweens filled with even more extraordinary tales and encounters.